A millionaire was asked how he did it. He responded, Let go of the girls and focus on one woman. She's going to help you achieve everything. Welcome to Creative Money Discussion. I am your host, Mervin Budram, and we are creatives transforming lives. Welcome back to the Creative Money Discussion Show. I am your host, Mervin Budram, and I will be with you for the next hour. I'm super excited for this week's episode. I'm actually really looking forward to the discussion. This is personal to me. This is kind of where I'm at right now in the space I am in right now. As I'm seeking to kind of build my life with my family and build my career as well. So for those tuned in, I know we have something amazing lined up just for you for this evening. But I want to know where you guys are tuned in from. And so I want to encourage you, use the comment section below to give a shout out, to let me know where you're tuned in from, where in the world you're tuned in from. And also we want to use those comment section as well for comments and questions later on in the show. I want to welcome those tuned in on TNC, the national channel here in Belize. It's always a pleasure to have TNC with us, partnering with us with this show. And I want to say good night and greetings to those watching in on the national channel. And if you want to comment as well and you want to participate in the show, we have our WhatsApp number on the screen. That's 623-7898 that you can use to send in a comment, and we will get those comment in this discussion. Just want to let you know that tonight's episode is brought to you by Task Belize Limited, a strategic marketing and growing innovation firm that helps to tell your story, reach more people, and close more sales.
People daily seek to connect to something meaningful, something eternal, something they can invest their time, energy, and money into.
Make a connection to Task Belize for all the graphic designs and advertising needs. Connect to Task Belize for all your web designs and branding needs.
Connect to Task Belize. We use graphic art, videos, websites, and social platforms to connect businesses, organizations, and individuals to what's most valuable, people. If you're imagining your information on the web, on a poster or video, Task will make it happen. So go ahead and plan your wedding. We'll capture it for you. Document the things you want to remember, and we'll compile it for you. Write your songs, and we'll record you. Don't stop there. Go bigger. Paint it, and we'll billboard it. Brochure it, banner it, and postcard it. Business card, bookmark, and catalog it. If it sounds like too much, business package it. Because we do that too, and we've got you. We are committed in heart and mind. And what we do it well.
Make a connection to Task Belize for all the graphic designs and advertising needs. Connect to Task Belize for all your web designs and branding needs.
Welcome back to the Creative Monday Discussion Show. I'm your host, Mervin Budram. I want to give a shout out to some of the folks I already see tuned in. Olare, Jason Twist, all the way from another world in Warren Creek. I want to say shout out to Jason. I see Francis Young and others that are tuned in. And again, I want to encourage you guys, share this link with a friend, invite a friend in to tune in. Tonight's episode is especially for those who if you're thinking about going into business with a partner, you're thinking about, or maybe you are in business with a partner and you're looking for tips, advice, you're looking for some answers to kind of how to safeguard, grow, and really develop your relationship as well as your business. This episode is for you. I am excited to bring on our first set of guests. They're good friends of mine, actually. I used to be on their team years ago. I've learned so much from them in the terms of running a business, dealing with staff and operating a business differently than most of us normally do. And it's such a pleasure to have them with us tonight. So I want to invite on screen Richard and Heitha Beane. They are friends of mine, and they actually operate a business from right here in Belmopan. And I just want to welcome them to the screen. Hi, Richard. Hi, Heitha. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing pretty good.
Are you with us, Heitha?
Yeah,
I don't think
I'm with you.
okay.
Hey, Mervin.
Hey, Heitha. So they're actually right now in their different locations, and so one of the things I really like about these guys, they know how to make things work, right? They really know how to capitalize on situations, and they do their best to present the best and make things work. So Richard and Heitha, tell us a little bit about who you guys are. Introduce. I know you. I know a lot about you guys, but I don't wanna too much. I want you guys to kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, kind of what's going on with you at this moment.
Gotcha.
First, I just want to thank you for having us on. This is a great show. I've been following it, and you're really providing amazing information, amazing resources on here. So, and the fact that you invited us after working with us for so long, when you were just, in your 20s, and you saw the back side of the business, not just the front side. So thanks for that, Merv.
Definitely. You sent me a picture today that took me way back. I almost queued up that picture for tonight. I was really young back then. I didn't have any gray hairs back then. But yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to have you guys.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the basic idea in terms of our business, we're Belize Internet Marketing Website Design, and the name of the business pretty much says what we do. We've been here since 2005. I think the business actually started in 2006, and we help people with internet marketing and website design with the goal of really helping them to be able to improve their business and serve their customers and clients a little bit better.
Yeah. So what got you guys in this line of business? Like what's the backstory for that?
Good question.
Okay, I'll take this one because actually what got us into this business was ice cream. We went over to Cayo. We went over to Cayo Twist. We saw some ice cream there. Decided to try to do a franchise. And long story short, we ended up with an internet marketing franchise versus an internet ice cream franchise. And so, yeah, it was kind of crazy. And I know it's a short show, so I don't want to go too far into it. But the basic idea is what we try to do is to find a business that we could be involved in, that our skill set was kind of complementary to. And we felt that was something that could really help businesses and individuals in Belize do a little bit better.
Man, so we could have been talking to a Belize ice cream market, something.
Exactly.
Well, I am super glad that you didn't go into the ice cream business because you guys were very essential to a lot of what I do now, right? And so you guys kind of got me going in a lot of different areas. So you guys are married. You have 2 kids. How did you guys balance the business side with the family side? Like what was going through your mind at that time when you guys were getting going?
I don't think we really knew what we were getting into up front, but especially because we had always, from the beginning of our marriage, we had separate work, and we were in very different fields. And there was a period when I was a stay-at-home mom, and so we really didn't know, and we knew we were very different people, and so it could have been a total failure. But unfortunately, because Richard's very patient with me for one, but we found the work that kind of complemented each other, and we each do our own part, and it actually worked out surprisingly well.
Yeah, it's good. I know when we were talking last week, it came up, and actually used it in the promo. Heitha, you were talking about 50-50 and balancing, like, part of what you guys do in terms of getting things done, assigning roles, responsibility, and kind of the expectation. I think that's what I got from it, the expectation that you guys have on each other. So talk to us a little bit about that. Like how do you guys kind of set those parameters of responsibility in the home, with the business, and the expectation that comes out from that with each other?
Well, I think one of the things that made it a little easier or better was the fact that we tend to have complementary skills more so than the same set of skills. So a lot of what happens in the house and a lot of what happens in the business tends to flow in the direction of the person that has the skill set best able to deal with those particular issues. And generally speaking, it's about 50-50-ish, but I think it really changes over time depending upon what's happening, what part of the business is taking the most priority, and that type of thing. So it really has been one of those things where you consult about it and you talk about it and you try to work it out so no one feels like they're being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it takes some humility and flexibility on both people's parts when you realize that maybe this person's better at something. And just being humble and real with each other and respecting the other person. You can't be saying tit for tat, well, I did this and you didn't do that. It has to be kind of mutual respect and that loving relationship, or else you're going to be bitter all the time. And that's no way to live. So, you know, Richard is an extremely respectful, loving husband and was willing to step up in any area. So.
What would you say were some of the challenge that you guys face both in the business? Let's start with the business. What were some of the challenge you guys face having a home-based business? Because that was one of the things that you talked about last week.
Right. Yeah, I think. I'll go. Yeah, one of the challenges with the home-based business is really, does the business ever shut down? And one of the things about our business that particularly lends itself to creating a problem in that area is that when you have websites or where you have activities that organizations are doing, those things can happen during the week, but it also can happen during the weekend as well. And so what ends up happening is that you're almost always on call. You never know from one moment to the next whether there's going to be something expected of you. So there's times where you get your life interrupted in ways that are kind of uncomfortable, and sometimes where you probably cut back on things because you're just concerned that something might come up. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is trying to find that balance of separating the business from the home. Yeah.
Did you guys figure it out?
No.
Hey, I'm trying to get some advice here. So
there's no light, Mervin.
No, but one thing I'd like to say along those lines is I think the one thing that can help along those lines that we never really quite got down is scheduling sometimes. Just saying, look, this day, I don't care what happens, unless the world's falling apart, we're not going to be doing any business. And that way, everybody in the family knows that, okay, this is going to be some free time. Maybe we can spend some time together. Otherwise, you're always on call and always on edge. And I think that's a little difficult at times.
Yeah, Richard, you were saying something. Actually, I was talking to my wife about it after our pre-interview last week, which was the whole thing of setting up a board, so that, because we were talking about, there are times it's wonderful when things are always going great, you're in agreement, skill sets are working together. But what happened to those moments when, as a couple, you're clashing, in the home you're clashing, then you still need to show up every day to still do work together? Like, talk to us a little bit about what that's been like for you guys.
Right. I think one of the challenges there is that when you have a business like ours, and it really is 50-50, like Heitha said, and so we literally own the business 50-50. So no one person can step in and say, okay, I'm the boss, we're doing it my way. So generally speaking, things kind of work okay, as you mentioned, when we're in agreement. But there are going to be times when you run into something that you may not both agree on. And at that point, it's 50-50. What do you do? And there are times when in our business, there's certain things that probably didn't develop as well or as fast because we never really resolved some of those issues until maybe an emergency comes up. Then you got to do something.
Just got to deal with it.
But then that's the wrong time. That's like trying to fix the roof when it's raining. So that can be really a challenge. So like we talked about, having a board or some other advisory group that you can go to and kind of break the tie as such, I think would probably be a really good way of dealing with something like that.
Very good. Any thoughts on that, Heitha?
No, I think Richard summarized it well. I wanted to go back to one point you mentioned about kind of you're always at work when you're working from home. But I don't want that to discourage people, because it also gives you a lot of flexibility. And if you have children, you're always home with your children. Yes, they're coming in and out every minute, but all those really key years of their life, you're present with them. Yeah. And you're busy, but you're spending the day with your family, with your husband. So we may be busy during the day, but in the evening, we've already spent the whole day together and we've kind of bounced off each other, which is fun. And when things go really well, I mean, that's just, that's exciting and that's romantic, right? So I don't want to discourage anybody from having a home-based business, because it has a lot of benefits. It gives you the flexibility to do volunteer work, be involved in your faith or whatever it is. So it gives you a lot of perks along with some of the difficulties.
That's very key, and that's very good, because the reality is, I mean, that's been our experience, and that's what we're enjoying at this moment as well. I guess the question that comes up for me in that is, and I guess I'm there right now, that's why I'm asking this question. This is for me. This is not for the audience. This is for me. So how do you how do you communicate? How do you help your kids to understand that process, that they don't have resentment as they're growing up, like, man, the business really took away my parents, or they're always in the business space, or like, how do you guys how did you do that, you know?
Well, I think there's two things about that. One thing is that especially in the beginning where we started out, one nice part about our business is we would get the chance to visit resorts that we were doing marketing for, websites for, and our kids really liked that. I mean, there were times when the kids were having a ball, and there's one resort where our daughter called Paradise. He said, we're going out to the resort, and they go, well, we're going to Paradise? And I thought, oh my God. So I think sometimes when you can involve them in the business, and especially if they like the business, that can be wonderful. The downside is when you do kind of get called away, and trying to explain to a child that you may not have time at a particular time is virtually impossible. I don't know that there's any answer they're going to accept, so that can be really difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great.
I see our daughter giving a laughing emoji as a comment.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but you know, the thing with it, I love that response, because I think even as you said it, I realize it's also finding ways to include your kids and your family in the process. It's finding ways to kind of make it fun, make it exciting, hey, we're going to do this, and so yeah, that I love that response. So in closing, I want to ask, how can people get in touch with you guys, find out more about what you're doing? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
The quickest way is to go to our website, BelizeIM, as in BelizeInternetMarketing.com. It's also at the bottom of the screen. Just go in there. All the directions are there. You can shoot us a message, a live chat, WhatsApp, and we'll be happy to chat with you.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for hopping in and just chatting with me. And we're not done with Richard and Heitha, guys. They'll be back. We're going to have a Q&A time at the end, our last segment of this episode. And I want to ask you guys, line up some questions. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're thinking. If you have some experiences as well that you want to submit and offer, feel free to do those in the comment section, and we'll definitely will get them in. So our next guest that we're going to bring in, actually, they're new to me. I just met them, but I'm loving them. I love what they're doing. I'm very inspired by their journey and their story. So I'm very much excited to introduce to you guys Mr. Herbert and Daedra Haylock. They're consultants here in Belize. They're marketers. They're kind of in the same space I'm in, and they've been doing it for much longer than I've been doing it. So I'm like, okay, I'm excited. I have tons of questions to ask them, because they did it with their family, they did it with their business, and they're definitely succeeding in this. And so I want to welcome this evening Mr. Herbert and Miss Daedra Haylock to the screen. Good evening, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good evening, Mervin. Thanks for having us.
Good evening, Mervin. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure having you guys. And so please, would you tell us a little bit about who you guys are, your background, kind of your story, how you got into the space you're currently operating in?
I guess I'll start first. I was a journalist before, a television journalist. I studied broadcast journalism and public relations in the United States, and I did my master's in England in global political economy, which is, for people who want to know what that is, it's a mix of international politics, international trade, and international relations. So it looks at how countries relate to each other in that space, how they trade between countries, the dynamics of that and the global setup for that. And it also looks at the politics between trade blocs,
okay,
countries, bilateral relations, international relations between different nations and different regions. So that's basically me in terms of my background. When I came back home, I was working with a television station, with the 2 television stations before I went to do my master's. And on coming back, I took an advocacy job with an environmental organization.
Very good.
What we are doing now as a company came later. So I'll let Herbert introduce himself.
Right.
So thanks, Mervin, and to the audience. For me, in terms of my background specifically, I started off in the field of accounting in terms of core field of study, but I actually gravitated from there and moved into economics, and I found a more longing for that field, and I went on to do my bachelor's in economics. And again, in terms of the conversation we had last week, or actually over the weekend, in terms of there's never a moment to not necessarily continue learning, and I found
Yeah.
that I've actually ended up going back to school, and I'm in the process of actually working towards the completion of an MBA at this point in time. In terms of professional background, I started off working in the tourism field. I've been in the field in terms of tourism and that realm for roughly about 25 years, and that's not necessarily trying to date myself, right? In terms of a timeline. But I've spent quite a considerable number of years in that particular field in various facets and in various areas. Mind you, in terms of working in that background, there's been a varied level of responsibility and areas of focus that I've been involved with that has taken me through a number of management and administrative positions in terms of working at various locations, projects that have been specifically targeted and focused in specific areas. I've worked in the NGO environment for quite some number of years as well. And in terms of coming sort of full circle with that, my last opportunity in terms of full-time employment, I was actually working at the Belize Tourism Board, and again within the tourism sector and the tourism realm. And I've had and held a number of posts within that period of time, one of them being as well the president of the Belize Tourism Industry Association during my tenure as one of the highlights in that professional timeline.
Very nice. One of the questions that as you guys were sharing and that came up for me instantly was like, what? Because I'm asking this question because I've been using the quote that Miss Daedra posts, couples that hustle together stay together. And, I've been thinking a lot about that since she posted it. And I even use it in a lot of the reposting, getting ready for the show. So when you think about that, what does that mean to you guys? Couples that hustle together stay together. What comes up for you guys when you think about that quote?
Well, Mervin, I started using it because at first I was thinking about a little hook to share the flyers that you created for the show, and I thought about couples that play together, stay together, and that kind of thing. And so I was trying to toy off with something, and I actually Googled to see what I was coming up with, if it makes any sense. And lo and behold, there it was, all over the internet when I Googled it. Couples that hustle together, stay together, and I think it goes beyond the business for me in terms of my mindset, and why I like the phrase is because as a couple we've been involved in each other's activities a lot. Whether you're in there professionally and you're related to it professionally, or you just remain interested and you remain interested to support. I think I found that by trying to do that, you give each other space, or at least you understand the demands that is being made on each other's time and each other's focus a little bit more. And so it allows for a little bit smooth ability to discuss, or at least if you don't get the opportunity to talk about everything, you know what is happening because you've stayed in touch. And so with Perfect Green, when it started, we just continued along that trend. I mean, even with our children, Herbert is always involved at school, their activities, at home, whether it's combing the girl's hair or getting her ready for school, or mom is not here, I'm traveling because of a job. He's combing the hair, he's getting her ready, because the girl was our only child for 12 years. And I always remember, and this story really emphasized how much involved we are with each other as a family and as a couple. A Friday, Katie said to her teacher, she was in infant one, she says, "Mommy comes back tomorrow, yay." And she said, "Well, where was Mommy? How long has Mommy been gone?" And she said, "Mommy went away last week, Sunday." And she said, "So your mom's not been here this whole week?" And she said, "No." And so the teacher asked, "So who's been combing your hair every day?" And she said, "Oh, Daddy." And then when I got back, the teacher made sure to let me know that Katie had a different hairstyle every single day.
Wow.
Because I don't do that as a mom. The hairstyle stays for 2 or 3 days. I comb it over and everything, but we don't go into the whole hairstyling thing every single day. But Daddy was spoiling her and doing that. So it's just as an example to show how involved we always were. And so being involved in the same business space was just something we did, and it was just the way we do things, and so
Yeah.
that just rolled.
Yeah, I think for us it sort of came naturally in terms of just the process and the flow over time. And again, in terms of that example that Daedra was citing, it just shows that in terms of trying to just balance and going back to your question, what's behind that together component, it's a bit of balancing and understanding that you have both different roles to play in terms of what you're doing and responsibilities. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there's really one goal, one objective in terms of trying to move forward, whether it's a family, whether it's a business, and being able to manage that and do what you need to do and take up those responsibilities. In terms of what we've had to do over the years, I think it's come naturally.
That's good.
The process, and that's not to necessarily say it's been a smooth ride through the whole timeline. But again, we are aware of where the responsibilities are, and then when one person may not be here, the other person steps in and fills that role. Because the roles have been reversed in some instances where I'm away and I'm not here. We're traveling, and again, trips have to be done to take the kids to school. You have to do certain things, or maybe you're working on a particular venture at that point in time, and you might have to take on the burden and responsibility during that entire period of time to respond to the client or to address the needs that might be on board at that point. So it's a bit of balance.
I love that.
Find a middle ground, I think, is where you need to be. If there's a manual for that, I can't necessarily drive you to that manual because I don't necessarily think there is one. But I think with each and every person or couple that actually is going down this process or thinking of getting into this process, it's a question of just figuring out how to blend that set of responsibilities. And if you're able to do that in terms of not necessarily putting too much of a demand on one or the other person over that period of time, I think you're able to then find common ground in the middle where the responsibilities of the business and what you're doing from a family point of view come together. I know Richard and Heitha spoke about this, and I think we've had a similar circumstance where when we've had to take on responsibilities to go out and to do different things in terms of working with the clients or responsibilities for the full-time obligations that we've had, we've actually taken the kids with us in those instances, and primarily so more so our daughter, because she actually was the one that in some instances benefited from the early onset and the early stages of the processes of us setting up what we were doing and actually then running with it. So you make the family a part of what you're doing. I think at the end of the day, that certainly helps in terms of having the kids understand and recognize what it is that you're trying to do, and again, the benefits that it does bring to the family, because they get to then see and travel and become aware of
and grow from it as well.
The expanse of what's out there, and again, business, and again, it becomes a part of who they are, and you help them in the process, notwithstanding age or how young they may seem, being toted along or being brought along as they move around.
I think I love that, and one of the things that kind of comes out or came out for me in that, because it's perspective, it's how you look at things, because you guys can choose to make your differences clash. You can choose to kind of make the fact that you're totally different and you have different strengths, different ideals in a sense, and you're clashing, or you can use that as an opportunity to complement each other. And that's what I'm hearing from you guys, and as well as I heard from Richard and Heitha, is making that conscious choice to make your differences complement each other. And I love that story because that you guys just shared, because similar thing happened. I was in Taiwan when we recently got married, and when we got married, we never had our bed. We were sleeping on just the mattress at the time, and my wife decided that it was time for a bed. And I was in Taiwan. When I came back from Taiwan, I was shocked. There was a bed in the house. She built it. She built it with her sisters, but they did it. And so for me, that really kind of defines some of those things for us. Like, we don't put those traditional I'm not the building carpenter type guy. I'm IT tech stuff. I will get that done. But when it comes to some of those things, my wife actually does a better job in measurements and things like that. But you can make those be points of clash or of fighting, or you can see that those are areas that complement each other. So my question for you guys, and I want to get to this, because I see the company name Perfect Green Belize. Interesting spelling. How did you guys kind of come up with that concept, and how did the difference of your giftings kind of balance the business out as you guys step forward in that?
But as we were explaining to you in the pre-show over the weekend, as it happened by happenstance, really.
Yeah.
We did not set out to start Perfect Green. We did not make a conscious effort to have a business. I had stopped working where I was working before, and cold turkey, no plans. Our daughter was starting preschool. She was 3, going on 4 years old, and so it was good at the time for me to be not employed, because I was nervous about her starting school, my first baby.
Yeah.
And, you know, Herbert can tell you I stayed the whole first week at school, and
Wow.
the teacher had to tell me I don't need to come back next week and all of that. But I was only able to do that because I was home. In any case, his cousin, he asked me, he said, so what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I don't know, I guess find another job. And then he said, but you know, you don't have to hurry back to work. You have skills that you can market. You can be a consultant. And yes, I had heard about consultant. Yes, I work with government. I work with NGO. I know what that is. But I never thought of myself in that space. I never thought of myself as being a consultant. You know, you go to school and you come back and you say, let's find a job. And he said, you do, and so I looked at him kind of like questioningly, and he said, you do marketing, you do communications, you do public relations. You can do that. You can, you know, bid for jobs. And he said, I'll send you a proposal to see what it looks like. You know, and so I thought about it, and we discussed it together, and we decided that if we were going to do it, then we'd pool our skills. He's more business oriented, has all that business and finance thing down. I don't like a bit of that at all. And then I'm more the communications, marketing, outgoing kind of, and that's more my background. And so, and a little bit of what I had done before. And so we brought that together. And a friend who's in graphic design business for quite a while, she designed her first logo, and we had a brochure, and we got started. And I sent in a bid for the first, for my first consultancy. I wasn't working, he was still in full-time job. And it got accepted by the IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank. And I remember thinking, you know, before I did that, how do you price yourself? And he also advised me, he said, you know, think about your price point and think about what value you bring and where is that balance. Kind of gave me some tips. And so when I sent in the proposal, it was accepted. I was like, okay, wow, all right. And we did it, you know, and I really like the flexibility, because I got to be able to spend that whole year that she was in preschool with her. And I didn't go back to work until she started public school. And at that point, then I didn't want to leave it alone, because I started seeing that I could pick what I get involved with. I could be involved in multiple spaces.
Yeah.
There was a beginning and an end to everything, and I like that control. I like that, and I like that it was letting me learn and grow and putting me into different settings. And so I continued it alongside. And if you look at the lifespan of it, because we started 16 years ago, I've been at it a lot more, because I've been the stay-at-home parent more. But Herbert has come together with us. Our second project was our first team work together. There have been others along the road. And when we have to team together to get something done, well, Katie had to come along. Whether it was a strategic plan up in Corozal, you know, you pack the dogs, you pack the snacks, you pack everything, you get to the location, you show her where the restroom is, you know, you set her up in a corner in the back of the room. And it was good for us, because she was a very pliable child. She was a very compliant child, you know, so you could like fix it and forget it, that she was there. By the end of the day, she just made herself comfortable, left the room quietly. If she had to go to the restroom, came back in quietly, and she just, as long as she had her snack and her dolls and a book to read and paper and pen to write, she was fine. So
you guys are blessed.
We had to be moving around. It was good, because she was the first child, and that was her personality.
You guys are blessed. I have 3 wonderful daughters, and I cannot go anywhere and set them in a corner and say, stay here. Here's a book, here's a pencil. I probably in seconds, I would have them wrapped around my legs. Daddy, where are you? You guys are blessed.
That's a current experience with our son.
That's our son.
front and basically seeing what's going on. So it does pose a challenge at times in terms of trying to get certain things done or trying to get timelines met in some instances when you need just to focus, when you need to provide just that dedication to work on something and just have your mind obstructed from different distractions. But like you said, we're encountering and going through that process right now with our youngest.
Awesome. Well, in closing, I want to ask if people want to get in touch with you guys and learn more about what you're doing, kind of utilize some of your services. Actually wanted to talk, and we can maybe talk about this a little bit when we get back, but I love we were talking about how you transition some of your services to products and how people can utilize that, right? And so, but if people want to learn more about what you have to offer, what's the best way for them to go about that?
Well, Mervin, we have a website, PRfect Green Belize, PRfect greenbz.com. But we're also on LinkedIn and on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find our pages with the same name. We have a YouTube channel that shows some of the communications work that we created. PRfect PR started as public relations because that was one of my degrees, but then it grew into a full array of business services. PRfect because we were playing on public relations, but we were also playing on taking people to greater heights. Improving on what you already have. Green because green is a vibrant, successful, fresh color, and that's what we hope to interject when we work with clients or we work with a partner. And Belize, well, we're in Belize, and so that's how we kind of brought that together. We do startup accounting services, financial services, we do business planning, we do marketing, we do financial projections for persons who want to grow their business, and we do the marketing and communication side. We do strategic planning for different organizations, NGOs. We've done for quite a few organizations, the Belize Cancer Society, BAPTA, we did for NCT Vet. So we have a variety of clients. Right now we're working with a small business, and I'll let Herbert talk a little bit more about what we're doing with the Toledo company.
Well, again, with that client, the whole process in terms of getting to working with that client, we actually worked with the chamber in raffling off a package to the chamber, and again, because of their anniversary and our anniversary that came up recently, over the 16 years, the client was successful in winning that package, and we're working with that client really to understand the story that they're trying to push and promote behind several ventures that they're involved with at this point in time. But it is taking that information and taking that story and looking at how we could help to make more efficient the processes that they're using to actually get that story out in terms of that business and positioning that business. Again, with the intent of being able to get them a greater market share, in understanding where, for example, there might be some gaps in what they're doing at this point in time. And then also to be able to give them greater advice in terms of looking at the business itself from inside, and understanding some of the processes that they're using to plan, to forecast, and being able to give them guidance and advice and tips on making that process more efficient, with the ultimate goal to actually grow and increase the profitability of those ventures and enterprises that they're doing. So it's a quick snapshot of what we're doing and working with that client. I mean, there are a lot of smaller points in terms of the details and the finer areas that we're trying to refine and put together as we go through this process of working with that small business and that client in the south.
Very good. Well, thank you guys so much for coming and sharing. And we got to take a commercial break right now. But when we get back, we're going to have both Richard and Heitha as well as the Haylocks on, and we want to take some question and answer. So if you guys are out there and have questions you want to submit, again, remember you can use our WhatsApp number if you're tuned in on TNC, and you can use Facebook comments or YouTube comments, and we will get those and share them and try to do our best to answer. So let's take a quick commercial break and we'll be back.
People daily seek to connect to something meaningful, something eternal, something they can invest their time, energy, and money into.
Make a connection. Belize, for all the graphic designs and advertising needs. Connect to Belize, for all your web designs and branding needs.
Connect to Belize. We use graphic art, videos, websites, and social platforms to connect businesses, organizations, and individuals to what's most valuable, people. If you're imagining your information on the web, on a poster or video, TAS will make it happen. So go ahead and plan your wedding. We'll capture it for you. Document the things you want to remember, and we'll compile it for you. Write your songs, and we'll record you. Don't stop there. Go bigger. Paint it, and we'll billboard it. Brochure it, banner it, and postcard it. Business card, bookmark, and catalog it. If it sounds like too much, business package it. Because we do that too, and we've got you. We are committed in heart and mind. And what we do it well.
Make your connection to Touch Belize for all the graphic designs and advertising needs. Connect you, Touch Belize for all your web designs and branding needs.
Welcome to the Creative Money Discussion Show. We actually have all our guests with us here. If we can get everyone on the screen right now. What we're going to do, we have about 15 minutes. So we're going to take this time to kind of just go through and ask some questions specifically related to couples, partners in business, in relationship, building both a life together and building both a business together, a venture together. And we've already gotten some amazing tips, some amazing insights already, right? And so I want to open up with this first question that was actually given to me before the show. It says, speak to people who want to build a business, they're in a relationship, they want to build a venture together. What are two basic things that you would tell them they need to lock in on, focus on? Anyone can take this question, and if we can keep our answers concise, because we want to get as much question in this segment. Who want to go first?
I'll give it a shot.
All right.
Okay. I guess the two things that immediately came to mind for me is, the first thing is, you got to have a business that both partners can love, or at least like a lot. I mean, when you have a business, you're going to have a lot of problems. And if you don't like what you're doing, or at least have a feeling that you're really making a difference, then that's going to be difficult. The other thing is the ability to communicate. If you have a challenge communicating, but that's not something that you like to do on a regular basis or not good at doing, it's probably not worth getting involved, because you're going to work out a lot of problems.
Very good.
I think what I would say is look at your skill sets. If you're doing it as a couple or any partner, look at your skill sets and see where synergies are and what can come together and what can complement each other. I think another thing I will say is, as you do it, make sure you have room for each person to be their own. Because I like the independence of Perfect Green, and maybe I didn't like the unpredictability too much of the earnings, but I like the fact that I can control my time. Herbert liked that there needs to be some kind of predictability, there needs to be some kind of sustainability. We had a young family, and so he stayed at the work helm in a full-time job. So you have to allow each other to have their space, even as you evolve. And not feel that the other person must do it fully one way or another, because you're two independent individuals, and you need to find a way to bring that together so that you're happy, like Richard said, that you're happy doing it together.
And I think if I can add to the conversation, one of the things that I want to simple and bring to the floor for persons to think about and consider is, you need to be focused in terms of what it is that you want to accomplish with that objective or that business, in terms of what you're going to get involved with. Over time, I think things will change. You will make adjustments. You will modify. You maybe shift a little bit off from where you're headed. But again, you need to have a clear direction in terms of where you want to be, and have at least some determination in terms of being able to get there. Because life will bring its challenges. Business will bring its challenges. And you need to be prepared to understand that you have to find workarounds to be able to get to that ultimate goal that you're seeking at the end of the day.
That's good. Heitha, any thoughts on that question?
Yeah, I think that, Richard mentioned being able to communicate, but also honestly communicating. A lot of times in life, with people in life, we're tiptoeing around. We don't want to say the wrong thing. We don't want to offend anybody. You have to just put it out there, and you have to know at the end of the day, no offense, like this is just, I feel really strongly about this. And along with that, I say, pick your battles. You have to, if one person really loves this logo and they're like, this is the perfect logo for us, maybe the other person needs to say, that's cool, I'll go with it. So you can't both be fighting every battle, or it's not going to be fun at all. So
yeah, I love that.
Stepping back and being humble and flexible.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, so keeping it rolling. Next question is marriage. How do you guys keep the marriage vibrant as you're building your business? What are some tips and advice you can give to us?
Well, for me, in my mindset, the business was always secondary. That I never really had a problem with balancing what I was doing as a consultant in the business and family, because I was always big on family time. And I think I'm the dragon on that. Even when he's in a full-time job, I'm like, dude, it's time for family. So
yeah.
So the marriage and the family was always first for me, and being able to have control over my time, so I could be there for Katie and for Bryce, and just be able to be there for my family. It's hard in the beginning because you encounter that sometimes people think that because you work for yourself and it's a home business, they can call anytime.
Yes, that's so true.
You're available anytime.
That's true.
And so you have to really try to set that business model around it. What time is sacred? And no, I'm sorry, I don't do meetings then. And so for us it was marriage is. Richard and Heitha can tell you, marriage comes with its own complications. Any married couple can tell you.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't need to have the business introducing another complication. You need to, yes, that's how you may live if the two of you are doing it, but you got to put it in its place and know, what's going to come first.
Yeah. And I think also remembering that you're always a team, that no matter what else is going on, you're like the core team, and you keep that sacred. Also, I think that for us, we're both active members of the High Faith, so we have a lot of service opportunities and volunteer opportunities. So having that separate thing that we do together has been really important to us, is that special activities that are outside of work. So finding hobbies or church or whatever that you do separate from the work that you can enjoy together.
It's good.
Yeah, the one thing along those lines is that if I were to just add something on the other end of it, is I think there are times, especially when in the beginning, as was mentioned, you're trying to build the business, that I think there are times when maybe family took a little bit of hit at times. And I think doing a self-assessment every couple of weeks or a month or so and say, wait, how are things going? Is there something that needs to be adjusted? That's something we probably could have done a little bit more of at times.
Yeah.
And if I can, Mervin, just to round that off in terms of the conversation.
Yes, please.
I think all of us have in that process that what you're doing and how you're doing that and making that a part of, again, daily life is something that actually helps to ground what you do and ground out what you do as a family. Because if you sort of create that separation, it does not necessarily lend well or blend well in terms of, again, having to work from the office or the home in terms of working off of that primary source or primary area. So I think blending the activities to let it work for what you're doing as a family is one of the key things that helps on both ends of the equation, based on your question that you've asked.
I think for us as a couple, it was always a little different for us too, because we weren't the two of us 100% in perfect green. One of us was always engaged in something else, and so the variety, things to talk about, the spacing away from each other was always there, because we're not embedded, the two of us, 100% into it. And that has helped. And again, it goes back to allowing each other to have your space. If the other one likes something more, but wants to be involved in the business as well, then you gotta allow for that, because that's what you do in a relationship. They have things they like more than something you want to be engaged in. So for them to be able to have that flexibility to be involved, and then to come together when you need each other. Because there've been times where a project, I look at it and I'm like, I want to bid for this thing, boy, but that accounting thing is not me. I need you on that. Do you have the time to do that, because you also have a full-time job, and he'll look at it and he'll say, yeah, I have the time, or he'll say, sorry, I don't have the time to take that on. It'll take too much, and then we will start rubbing up on each other because you start demanding that you need me to do this, and then I will have my demands for my job. So certain things we had to accept that, okay, that one we can't take on. We just can't take it on right now. And others we were like, okay, we can make that work. You know, we can juggle things around, we can make that work, and you make it work. And we make the children a part of what we're doing, and we try to explain to them what we're trying to do and how they can be a part of it. My son looks at us a few weeks ago and he said, I want to be a consultant when I grow. I'm like, no, you don't need to be a consultant. You don't have a business, yeah, you go do a business, but you don't need to be no consultant. Go farther than mom and
well, that's my daughter is always my daughter she according to her, she owns Belize already, so she's already making plans. She really does. She walks in and she's making all these plans and she have all these ideas, and which I love, because we found that actually including our kids even in some of the decisions that needs to be made, we would walk in and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? And they feel so involved that helps a lot. And a couple of weeks, or last week I believe, we were talking with Debbie Jolie from Trinidad, and she mentioned something that we've been talking a lot about, which is there's times the business is sacrificing for the family, and there's times the family is sacrificing for the business, and making those times very clear, but you know, when you make it clear and you communicate it, then it works much easier and much better, right? We have about 5 more minutes to go, so
Mervin,
I want to ask.
You mentioned about getting the kids involved, and in our pre-show, remember I voiced to you that
yes, I remember that
showed us the transition, or showed me answered a question that I never presented to her about how to take what we're doing from services to products. And she just came up and she said, Mom, have you ever thought about, you know, like a doctor doing consults, or taking what you do and creating templates that you could sell it to somebody, sell a template to them, and it has all the guidelines and they're able to do it. You know, and if they hit a snag, then they can come to you for a consultation and you consult them through that process. So it was her that answered that question. So involving the children can bring gems to you without your even knowing, you know.
What I wanted to ask, what did I wanted to ask? Did I lose my thought here? No, I didn't lose my thought. What I wanted to ask is along those lines. If you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Ooh, you should have warned us with that question.
This is one of those flyby questions. Like,
No, this one's easy. This one's easy for me. One of the things is, especially with the business we're in, internet marketing and website design, it's changing almost nowadays, almost on a daily basis, but definitely on a monthly or quarterly basis. And I think sometimes in our business, we weren't saying, okay, how do we need to change now? How do we need to change now? To the extent that you're leading the wave and that type of thing. So I think a regular assessment of where the business is and where the market is would have been helpful in terms of moving forward.
I think for me, it would have been to have a deeper resolve in that this was a business and a credible business. It wasn't just something on the side. For a very long time, I treated it as just something on the side because I had full-time jobs at times along with it. Because when you make that intentional decision, then you start to make certain intentional steps. And it was only a year and a bit ago that I made that intentional decision that, you know, let me be intentional with this. Let me see how more intentional I can be with the decision making and putting stuff in place to formalize this a little bit more. And I'm still going through that process. So I've been doing the consultancy for 16 years, but PRfect Beane was like that little thing you do, you know, that kind of adds to everything else that you're doing. So be intentional with it. And I think that's the one thing I would probably have been changed, to be very intentional from the beginning.
And I think just to add to the conversation in terms of, and again, this is food for thought for those looking at the show and understanding and thinking of where to go. Building and developing your network from a very early point in terms of what you're doing and what you're getting involved with, so that over time that grows and you have a wider and deeper network as you progress. That's a critical demand and a critical requirement in order to ensure that you're viable and you can be successful at the end of the day.
It's good. Heitha?
I like all the answers so far, but I think really focusing on the business that you're becoming plus the business that you are. So balancing that focus. I think especially when you're a small family-owned business, that you end up focusing on where you are, not where you want to become. And so sometimes that can be overwhelming. Also, being able to replace yourself and the work you do. I'm sure that Daedra and Herbert have the same issue where there's things only you can do, and being able to train people to be able to do some of those things. So it doesn't all fall on you.
And I would add to what Heitha just said as well. Yes, focus on the business you're becoming, but you also have to focus on the business you currently have as well, making sure that is being sustained, that is being developed, that is growing, so that you can become what you want to become and what you're envisioning yourself to become. We have 5 more minutes before the show is over. I want to thank everyone so far for tuning in, for submitting questions. In closing, very shortly, guys, 2 things that you want to leave with those watching, and we can all just go around shortly and just leave 2 things that you want to leave with those watching.
It can be fulfilling. What you're doing can be fulfilling, especially when you see the impact that you're having on the people that you're partnering with, on the clients that you're helping. It is fulfilling. So that part is fulfilling, and then also looking back at it and say, hey, I've been doing this, hey, I've done that. It's a self-affirming process, and to be proud of it, to claim it proudly.
I think for me, in terms of adding to the conversation, it's remaining focused in terms of understanding what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. And the other thing is, again, the fact that you're imparting and sharing knowledge and expertise and skills that you've been able to put under your belt with others, so that they have an opportunity to be able to grow as well and expand as well. So those are the 2 things to put under the conversation.
Very good. Very good. Richard and Heitha.
Okay, yeah, I'll go. The 2 things for me is that it's just a heck of a lot easier to do something if you love it. So if you can find something you love and make a business out of it, you're going to run into a lot of problems and difficulties. If you love it, you can work through it much easier than not. The other thing, just from a practical perspective, it's nice to have a little extra cash around, because when you start a business, sometimes you can run into a tough patch. And if you don't have a little bit of extra cash to kind of get you through that tough patch, a lot of times your business will go under, not because it's a bad idea, you just didn't have enough cash.
It's good. Heitha?
I think the thing I want to leave with is that choose core principles that you really believe in between you. So for us, we decided that trust and trustworthiness was the core of everything we did. And it helps make your decisions going forward, with making sure that your clients can trust you to do the right thing, that your staff can trust you, that you can trust your team, that you can trust each other. So pick some 1 or 3 or 4 core principles or virtues that your business is based on, and it helps all the decisions going forward from there.
That's very good. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for jumping in tonight, being a part of the show, sharing your journey, sharing your stories and your insight. It was definitely insightful for me, and I trust that it was insightful for everyone who's tuned in and who's going to watch afterwards as well. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and our entire team here at the Creative Abundance Show. We want to say thank you guys so much for being on the show, and I want to say thank you for everyone who tuned in on TNC as well as on YouTube and Facebook. We are almost out of time. We just want to let you guys know that next week, Monday, we won't have an episode because it is the National Heroes and Benefactors Day. So we're taking a holiday. That's okay, because we're thinking it's all that we've been talking about, how do we grow and build our family and life. So we're taking a holiday next week, Monday, but we will be back with you guys the following week on the 15th with some amazing guests lined up just for you. We want to say good night, and we want to say God bless you, and we'll see you again on the 15th. Take care.